Let me start first with a confession. I have played golf for decades now and have been lucky enough to play off a single-figure handicap since I was a teenager, but when it comes to the driver and terms like attack angle, I have been very late to the party in terms of understanding its impact. That lack of knowledge has clearly cost me a lot of distance and shots over the years, and as a result I very much wish I had paid attention much sooner to what a good attack angle is for driver. So in this video we take a deep dive to see what the stats say when it comes to the question of whether you should swing up or down with driver, and how even the top pros have changed their tune over the years when it comes to driver attack angles. Welcome back to the Golf in Focus channel everybody, and as a whole, hitting up with a positive angle of attack when hitting driver will maximise distance as it increases launch and decreases spin. The ideal attack angle for driver is of course different for each golfer, but between +2 and +4 degrees is a good guide range for best carry and roll distance according to the leading launch monitor manufacturers. Long driving specialists such as 3-time world long driving champion Kyle Berkshire can even reach attack angles up to +8 degrees. If you currently hit your driver with a negative attack angle though, in other words you hit down on the ball, you are in good company. The majority of amateur golfers do this, and TrackMan, perhaps the leading launch monitor manufacturer in golf today, has measured that the average male amateur golfer has a negative attack angle of -1.6 degrees. But when it comes to getting as much carry and total distance off the tee as you can, which is the main goal with driver, that unfortunately is not a good thing. For a golfer with a near average swing speed of 95 miles an hour, hitting driver with a negative angle of attack of -7 degrees compared to +7 degrees will cost them 31 yards of carry and 33 yards of total distance. And that loss of both carry and total distance by hitting down on the ball with your driver is evident in TrackMan's analysis of the optimal distances of a very wide range of driver swing speeds, from the slow of below 80 miles an hour all the way up to the very fast PGA Tour level clubhead speeds of 110 miles an hour and above. Now that we have answered the question of whether you should be aiming to hit up or down with your driver from a distance perspective, it is clearly important to understand why. Before we get to that though, of course, first we need to be clear on what a negative attack angle actually means. The attack angle of your driver, or angle of attack as it is also frequently referred to, is the vertical up and down angle the club is moving on at impact relative to the horizon. A negative attack angle therefore simply means that the angle your driver is making with the imaginary horizontal line that represents the horizon when it makes contact with the ball is less than 0 degrees. This is not always the easiest thing to visualise given the very small degree differences in different drives, but the number displayed by launch monitors makes it obvious whether you're hitting up on the ball and have a positive attack angle or hitting down with your driver with a negative attack angle. And why that number matters when it comes to your drives is that the optimal mix of the 3 key elements that determine driver distance, namely ball speed, launch angle and spin rate, is dictated by a golfer's club head, stroke swing speed and their attack angle at impact. As the attack angle changes, the optimal launch angle and spin rate for the golfer change too, and when a golfer has a negative angle of attack, more loft is needed to launch the ball. But the problem with that is that additional loft requires the need for it to be combined with higher spin rates to ensure the ball stays airborne for longer. And unfortunately, too much spin with a downward hit drive, even when it's struck well, will reduce the distance your golf ball will roll. Talk of any ideal is often fraught with danger in golf, however, given how many variables are involved, including a golfer's swing, where one is never the same as another. And although you've probably been aware much earlier than me about the general rule that hitting up on your driver with a positive angle of attack is a good thing, especially if you're looking to increase the distance you hit the ball off the tee, it is always of course important to remember that there is no one size fits all when it comes to the optimal ball speed and launch conditions of individuals' drives, and as a direct consequence there is no optimum angle of attack that applies to all golfers. Any regular golfer will also quickly tell you that focusing solely on one small statistical aspect of the game in isolation is a risky strategy. What we can say with certainty now though, thanks to our understanding today of attack angles and their influence in driving distances, is that a positive angle of attack is a good way to increase a golfer's potential distance. And that has principally come about thanks to the modern generation of golf launch monitors. The original devices launched in the 1990s by measuring the key numbers allowed people to understand whether their launch conditions, i.e. launch angles and spin rates, were in the right ranges, or too high or too low. They couldn't tell an instructor or golfer exactly why this was. But with the addition of metrics such as attack angles into the modern generation of launch monitors, we now know without a doubt that in order to maximise driver distance, you want to hit up with a positive attack angle based on whatever your driver clubhead speed is. And because further metrics such as dynamic loft are now also measured, it is possible for coaches to be clear on what piece of the puzzle is causing a golfer's launch issues, and therefore for them to lose distance. It could be their angle of attack or dynamic loft, or it could be both. Whatever it is though, a good coach working with a modern launch monitor will help you to work out what it is, and the distance rewards on offer can be substantial, as I am now well aware of myself. In a lesson last year, I found that when I was hitting down on the ball with a minus 2.4 degree angle of attack at impact, I was losing over 32 yards of carry and 43 yards of total distance, compared to driving with a positive 2.3 attack angle with almost comparable swing speeds of just over 100 miles an hour. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a fair incentive to start working on hitting up on the ball on a consistent basis. Given how clear it is now that hitting up on the ball with a positive attack angle with your driver is the best way to maximise distance, it may seem curious as to why some of the best pros in the world have a negative attack angle with driver. Indeed, 2023 USPGA champion Brooks Koepka is well known for his negative angle of attack with driver. Pros hitting driver with a negative attack angle when hitting the longest club in the bag is however not the norm anymore. As a whole, pros do not have a negative attack angle, with the PGA Tour average being plus 2.2 degrees according to FlightScope. PGA pros did previously though have an average negative attack angle, with it measuring minus 1.3 degrees in 2015 on tour. While it may not seem like it, given the almost flawless way they all seem to smash a golf ball off the tee, tour pros, like amateurs, have swings as unique to them as their own fingerprints. And as such, how they choose to hit their driver depends on what they are most comfortable will deliver the most consistent results. And that means for some, it makes sense to occasionally hit their driver with a negative angle of attack because it produces the ball flight they want and are most comfortable hitting. This quote from six-time PGA Tour winner Mark Leishman is a great example of this and clearly shows he knows that hitting up on the ball with a high angle of attack will give him more distance. But he is also well aware that his bad shot with a high angle of attack with his driver can result in a scorecard wrecking number, and as a result he often chooses to hit with a lower one to deliver a more consistent result. In other words, it is a pragmatic decision he is making to allow him more control with his drives, and luckily for him it doesn't cost him a lot of distance given he still averages around 307 yards off the tee. Similarly, Brooks Koepka's TrackMan numbers have shown he is still able to carry his drives nearly 300 yards in spite of hitting the ball with a negative attack angle of minus 3.7 degrees. Yes, it is also true that the game's longest hitters like Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson average around the plus 4 degree mark, and often higher when they go for some of their huge hits. And as we have already noted, long drive competitors are targeting attack angles of up to as much as plus 8 degrees to maximise their driving distances. However, some tour pros choose consistency, control and accuracy over a very high upward attack angle, which would maximise their carry and total driving distance. And for those lucky enough, like Koepka and Leishman, they don't need to hit any further to compete at the top level. Unfortunately, average golfers typically do not have this luxury and need to wring every last yard of distance out of their driver to score well. And remember, no matter what myths you hear about how the short game is more important than the long game, there will be a ceiling in how much you can improve based on how far you can drive the ball. To which point it is further interesting to note that by comparison with the average driver attack angle in the PGA Tour going from negative to positive in recent years, on the LPGA Tour it has always been around plus 2 degrees. And that is likely because LPGA Tour players averaging 257 yards off the tee compared to the near 300 yards PGA Tour pros drive the ball on average, are aiming to maximise driving distances to a greater extent than their male colleagues. And given the average swing speed in the LPGA Tour is almost identical to that of the average male amateur, it probably makes the most sense for regular golfers to see how their driver attack angles and key launch monitor numbers match up to the best women players in the world. So that's it for our look at ideal attack angles to maximise your distance with driver. As ever, and most importantly, we hope you're enjoying your golf. And if you like this video, tap in one of those boxes on the screen and we'll see you over there in another one shortly.